Hello everyone, my name is Elizabeth Howell, and I am the native speaker tailoring tutor here at Free English Tutoring. If you didn't see my first lesson last week, I am a native English speaker here in America, and I'm here today to help you all out with formal and informal vocabulary. But first, as always, if you want to, we have more learning resources in our Discord group in the comments. We have Q&A sessions, we have lessons, we have, you can reach out to us very easily there if you have any questions at all, and I highly recommend it. So, with that, let's get on to the lesson. So today we're going to be covering some thematic vocabulary. Now, what is thematic vocabulary? Well, thematic vocabulary is common words used in certain settings and situations. So, for example, some educational thematic vocabulary may be exam, homework, classroom, lecture, degree, scholarship, while more climate-based one may be forecast, drought, global warming, carbon footprint, and humidity. Now, if we were looking at some work-based, pension, retirement, interview, time and a half, very common stuff. I really recommend looking into any of these words. I'm not going to be going too in detail with any of these meanings of any of these words. These are just some examples. So if you want to look them up in a dictionary, I really recommend that because it could help solidify your vocabulary for more situations. I would also recommend if you want to go down a particular educational pathway or talk about a particular climate or you're in a certain field of work, I would really recommend looking more into vocabulary in English that may be related to that. I think it could help you express your thoughts better and just overall feel more confident when speaking about these subjects. I highly recommend that. But let's get into formal versus informal tone. Now, luckily, English is not as strict as certain languages are with informal tone. I know that some languages, if you don't speak informal tone to strangers, it can be automatically assumed as rude or disrespectful, and you could get in certain serious trouble for that. In English, that is not the case, although it is always good to be polite. It is always safe to be formal. It is not a requirement, at least here in the U.S., as in, when speaking English. You can never say please or thank you enough, but we're not really going to be going too deeply into that. The main thing we're going to be doing is when writing essays or, making presentations in English, to sound more professional or knowledgeable about a topic, it is always good to use more formal tone. It is just a kind of a boost that will make you seem more respectable and just overall give people more confidence in you. So we're going to just look at words you can sub out while writing or while speaking that may help you achieve this. So for now, we have a phrase right here, and we have 4 words that you can just sub out. They're very simple words. So with the first one, we'll start with the phrase, I would like to know. That is formal, right? Instead of a more informal tone, which would be, I want to know. This might be something that you say to a friend or a family member or even to a stranger. It's very common in English for us to shorten words, so it's easier for us to speak and to say it faster as well. But if you really want to sound more formal, it is good to say all of the words instead of shortening it down into wanna. You will sound a lot more articulate and knowledgeable in this way. Here we have assist, which is more formal than help. Inquire, which is more formal than ask. Commence, which is more formal than start. And children, which is more formal than kids. Now, like I said, in most environments, you will hear the informal tone. However, it is always always good to hear the formal tone and at least know what the formal tone is in case you wanted to use it, or in case you hear it and your mind goes blank. It's always just good to remind yourself what a more sophisticated and professional word would be. Now let's go over some thematic vocabulary in both of the tones. So in education, we have a formal sentence right here, and it would be, I received a scholarship for academic excellence. Very formal, very condensed. I think with a lot of formal sentences, it will seem as though it has a hidden meaning, or you have to have a certain amount of knowledge to understand it, because as you can see here in the informal tone, it is very short. It's shorter, it has abbreviations, and it is a lot more blunt than the formal tone. So the informal version of the sentence would be, I got a free ride because I had good grades. So a free ride, by the way, is basically just a scholarship that pays for usually all of the money or a lot of money while going to college. So that's just what that means. I got a free ride because I had good grades. A lot more blunt, a lot more casual. If we wanted to do some climate-based vocabulary, a formal sentence would look like, reducing our carbon emissions is crucial. While an informal version would be, we really got to cut down on pollution. Again, a lot less formal, a lot more blunt, simpler. It's possibly simpler, but if you don't really want to say this in a meeting or in an essay, you would really want to opt for the more formal version, unless you're just like talking casually to somebody. Now we have some work-based sentence right here. We have a work-based one in formal tone, and you could say, it is imperative that we complete this assignment by the end of the work week. Now, just a quick meaning, like definition right here. Work week is usually Monday towards Friday, so no, it doesn't include the weekend. That's just what that means. Pretty simple. Also, if you ever order something and it says business days, that means the same as work week. It means, so if you have a package that says it'll get here in 5 business days, that is not including the weekend most of the time, unless they have different business hours. Then you would have to take that into account too. Anyways, the informal meaning of this sentence would be, it's pretty important that we finish this stuff by the end of the week. A lot less descriptive. Like in the formal one, we have work week, while this one was just like kind of assuming that by the end of the work week. And just overall a lot less formal language. In this case, it's not more condensed. Like, speaking informally doesn't necessarily mean it's shorter than the formal one. It just means most of the time it's a lot more blunt, and it's a lot easier on the mouth, at least for native English speakers, to speak this faster and get our thoughts out quickly without, thinking of a formal word. The words are usually a lot more common and simple. So let's do a contextual substitution drill. And what this basically means is that we are going to have a sentence, and we're going to try and sub out a word to make it less or more formal. Now, in this case, our sentence is, she got, this is the word that we're going to sub out, a degree last year. Now, you can take your time to think about it. There are plenty of words. The answer I put in this slideshow is not the only correct answer. I really want to emphasize that because English is a very large language. There's plenty of words that you could substitute for it to be more formal. So your answer, if you come up with an answer, doesn't necessarily make it wrong if it is not the same answer as mine is. So the answer I put is she earned a degree last year. Definitely more formal, and it just a bit more sophisticated. Now, if you wanted to make this sentence more formal, could you help, this is the word we want to sub out, help me with this question. So, you can think about it for a second or pause. But the answer I put was assist. Could you assist me with this question? A lot more formal. Now, let's make this sentence less formal. So we want to do the opposite. This could be, you don't really want to sound like maybe you don't want to sound like a robot while you're talking to your friends. Maybe you don't want to sound like you're at a business meeting. Personally, there is nothing wrong with using formal language with friends or casual conversation. It is safer to do that than to use less formal speech with in a professional setting. But, maybe you just want to sound more casual. In that case, this sentence is, the meeting will commence soon. Commence being the word that we want to sub out. And the answer I put was, the meeting will begin or start soon. Both are much more casual. Now, we're also going to make this sentence less formal. I would like to inquire what you think about this. Inquire being the word that we want to sub out. And you could say, I would like to ask what you think about this. Less formal. Now, your guys' action item is to try and answer the following prompts by making the sentences more or less formal. Feel free to use an online dictionary for synonyms or similar words. Basically, you can write this in a notebook, try to look up different words in an online or physical dictionary, and you can either put it in the comments or, keep it to yourself, whatever you prefer. But I would love to see what you guys come up with. The first question is, I wanna ask about the weather. You wanna make this more formal. The second one is, they discussed recycling in the lecture. Make it informal. That is all for today. Thank you for sitting down and listening to me talk about formal and informal language and some words and sentence structure that you could mess around with. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. I'll make sure to get back to you. And again, if you want any more assistance or help or want to talk to us more intimately, feel free to join our Discord in the description. Thank you all. Bye.